Welcome to another 360 swag review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Club Grayskull figure from Mattycollector.com, Mattel's Filmation-inspired He-Man. He comes in an all-new design box for the Filmation line of figures. The outer covering of the box slides off reminiscent of the San Diego Comic-Con King Grayskull, the first Masters of the Universe Classics figure. Unlike King Grayskull though, this one has a window, which I love. For those who like to keep their items mint in box, this window will keep the dust out. And the top of the box has clear windows too, through the eyes and nose of Castle Grayskull. So if you want to display a light over top, it'll give you some dramatic lighting. One thing to note is that the top of the box is angled, not flat, so for those of you who are hoping to stack this new box style one on top of each other, you're out of luck. If you want to keep him in the box, he's posed in a pretty cool pose. The "I have the power" sword grabbing stance. The poses of the figures in the Classics packaging aren't very dynamic, but the added room in this packaging allows for more dynamic stances. The biggest improvement over the Classics packaging is that it is resealable. Yes, after you cut the tape, you'll be able to slide out the plastic shell that encases He-Man, and if you get tired of displaying him, you can put him back in the shell and back in the box. I really wish this had been a feature with Masters of the Universe Classics, not to mention other commemorative figures, like the vintage collection of Star Wars, or the 25th anniversary G.I. Joe figures. Thank you, Mattel. And here he is, Filmation He-Man. I think Lou Scheimer would be proud. The first thing I noticed about him right out of the package is the sturdy ankles. Most of the Classics figures I've purchased have very weak, floppy ankles. So it's nice to have a figure that doesn't need a stand, and doesn't feel like he's going to fall off his shelf. The ankles aren't as streamlined as the old Classics figures, but it doesn't bother me. After having the Classics He-Man for a few years, I'll gladly take all the extra articulation I can get. Speaking of more articulation, both wrists have added articulation. His left wrist goes left and right, which may not seem like a big deal, but I like the fact that his hand can now raise up a bit, while he's in his "By the Power of Grayskull" power stance. And the right hand has the same up and down articulation as the New Adventures He-Man had. Yes, He-Man can finally hold his sword aloft, as he did in the cartoon. Straight up. Uh-oh. Well, almost straight up. Close enough. He only comes with two accessories. One is the power sword, and it's a new sculpt, or toon accurate. Mine was bent, but as you know, it's easily fixed with a hairdryer or warm water, followed by an ice bath.
A little adjustment to the sword's vibration should do it.
He also comes with a stone that held both the power sword and the sword of protection, She-Ra's sword. It can be a bit tricky getting both swords to line up straight, but it's a cool little accessory if you have a couple extra power swords laying around. I like using it to hold He-Man and Skeletor's halves of the power sword. He's got a sheath on his back for the sword as well, accurate to the show. One thing that surprised me a bit is the grays used for the sword and the body harness. They're bluish gray, with no metallic coloring in them. I know they're going for the toon accurate look here, but it always throws me off when something I've always known to be metal gets colored bluish gray in toy form. He's got a few paint blotches here and there, but what are you gonna do?
Just a few scratches.
Despite it saying Adult Collector on the box, it's still a mass-produced toy, based on a children's toy and a children's cartoon. You get what you pay for, and I wish grown adults wouldn't make such a fuss over poor paint applications for items under $30.
Why, you...
If you really want a perfect paint job and high-quality plastic on your toys, then hit 88 miles per hour in your DeLorean and travel back to 1985, because that's the only way you're ever going to get what you're demanding. And since I'm such a big fan of Pixel Dan, it's time for comparison time. Here he is with the original He-Man figure, and as you can see, they look exactly the same! Well, not really. The original one is actually more jacked though. He's definitely been eating his roast gooble.
He may be huge, but he's still a little baby at heart.
And here he is with Classics He-Man.
Let's see you pick on someone your own size.
The Filmation He-Man is super sturdy on my revolving table, while Classics He-Man is standing by something I like to call PFM. If I so much as breathe in his direction, he'll fall over. The harness on the Classics He-Man is a darker gray with no blue, and as you can clearly see, the Filmation He-Man holds a much more natural looking pose than the Classics version. Having them side by side really shows you how incredible the Filmation head sculpt is. For being based on a cartoon image, its intricacy is much more detailed than the Classics version. And he looks so smarmy and charming. I could almost hear John Irwin's voice when I look at him.
How original!
No He-Man is complete without his fearless friend, Battle Cat. Does he fit? The answer is a resounding yes.
Let's go!
He fits better than the Classics version in my opinion. The legs still jut out like the Classics version, but this feels sturdier, and the sword sheath on his back doesn't get in the way. His loincloth and boots actually match the reddish brown in Cat's armor better than the Classics version does. I wasn't sure how these two would look together, since one is based on the cartoon and the other goes for a more realistic look, but I like it. I don't think we'll be needing a Filmation Battle Cat. And one more comparison, new with the old.
We're all one big family.
And here he is with Classics Castle Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull! It takes more than toys and echoes to defeat the power of Grayskull.
Now to be honest, I wasn't really interested in the Filmation line of figures since I'm perfectly happy with the Classics versions. But this figure is a mini plastic masterpiece. I don't know if I'll be getting any more of the Filmation versions, but I'm glad I got this one. He really does look like he jumped out of one of Lou Scheimer's animation cells. He's got the charming, sly, confident grin that we all know and love, and he definitely has a warmer and more heroic look than the Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man version, which was more intended to have a barbarian look, in homage to the 1982 original He-Man. Got your own opinion about the Filmation He-Man figure? Scroll down and go to town. And if you want to keep up to date on my videos, join the tribe and hit subscribe. Nerdmaste! Hadouken!